This is this is our first webinar to kick off the fall semester of 2022, and we hope that you will join us for our future events as well. We are fortunate today to be joined by Dr. Deb Hall, who is going to share with us some of her work with the building automation system Tech Barbie. And she's going to give us a live demonstration of her smart grand hotel in action. Before we dive into the presentation and before I introduce Dr. Hall, let me just say a few things about the Create Energy Center. If you haven't visited our webpage is createenergy.org. And the mission of the Create Energy Center is to provide a skilled technical workforce for the energy sector. Primarily through work with two-year technical colleges and high schools with energy technology education programs. Our speaker today is Dr. Deb Hall from Valencia College in Orlando, Florida. Deb has had the honor of teaching at Valencia College since 2001 within the Division of Engineering, Computer Programming, and Technology. She teaches electrical and computer engineering technology courses for their program. And in addition to being a full-time professor, she's also the program chair of the Energy Management and Controls Technology program. Prior to Valencia College, Deb worked as an electrical engineer in theme park ride and show control and in electric vehicle battery testing. She has served within the Central Florida community in leadership roles within the IEEE Orlando section and the Central Florida Society for Women Engineers chapter. And she's been involved in many engineering technology related K-12 student outreach programs to encourage young female students to pursue STEM related careers. Currently, Deb is also a member of our National Visiting Committee for the Create Energy Center. And she's a key leader with our Women in Energy initiative. So with that, I'm going to stop my screen sharing and turn things over to Deb so that she can share with us her building automation systems Barbie tech activities. Let me pause the screen there. And Deb, you should have the floor at this point.
All right, welcome. Thanks for coming. And I'll just tell you a little bit about the whole initial reason why we even tried to launch this type of outreach activity is at Valencia College. We were trying to figure out how can we bring in more females into actually all of our programs. So our Division of Engineering, Computer Programming and Technology, and specifically with Energy Management Controls Technology, seems that we just didn't have too many females. And, you know, we're still not in the perfect world. I'd love to see 50-50. We're not there, but this outreach is part of that attempt to, you know, just encourage young, male, females, just students, but for sure trying to attract females to just learn a little bit about our Energy Management and Controls Technology program. And before, what's kind of interesting is when we were doing middle school outreach, or we've actually introduced BS Tech Barbie to as young as like 4th grade classes. So what we observed is that this really, it just attracted females like nothing. Like I've never had middle school girls literally running to our outreach table. And this was at STEM events where, I guess that's part of what it is the girls would come up and they'd be like, what is Barbie doing at this, STEM conference? And what's nice is the boys are attracted as well. All this pink does not turn off any boys that I have observed. Why? Because maybe they see the laptop and they see the digital multimeter, they see our power supply, a controller. So they see the technical stuff, they see the wires, And so that brings them in. And as far as all this Barbie pink, not a problem. But before we had the Barbie house, it was typically just young boys that were coming and, were interested in learning about this. And then once we've introduced our BS Tech Barbie and her smart Barbie Grand Hotel, that's when it's just, I just can't explain it. We've even had this out here at Valencia College. And yes, the male students will still come up, but even the female college students, they're still intrigued. It's I'm sure it's kind of a retro thing, and so they're like, "Oh, this reminds me of the days," So, but let me just go into a little bit about a couple of activities that the Barbie house, kind of opens the door up. So, first off, we have an activity over here where we are asking students to basically help our BS Controls Tech Barbie figure out what's the relationship between temperature and resistance. So I've got this little sign that we have here, and so some of the students will come over here, and we've got a little digital multimeter, and I've got a thermistor. And first off, what I have students do is basically they'll warm up the thermistor. And as they're warming up the thermistor with their fingers, I have them observe the resistance that's being measured on our digital multimeter. And then I have them take the thermistor and dip it into the ice bath. And so I've got a little temperature gauge here that's showing the students that, we're at 33.9 degrees Fahrenheit, definitely cold, but they can see that the resistance is actually skyrocketing, right? It's going up, and then I have them rewarm the thermistor, and then they're observing that resistance is actually going down. And so it just opens up the conversation for students to start thinking about the idea of what does it mean to be directly proportional to inversely proportional. So it's kind of cool. It's like a quick little hands-on, but it's just fun to see the groups of students come in, and they're helping each other, and they're guessing, and then they're like, oh, hold it. Well, temperature. It's I'm definitely warmer than an ice bath, and I'm warming this up, and resistance is going down, and then they're like, oh, inversely proportional. Oh, okay. So it's really neat. So this is one activity. So we'll often have students kind of on this side of the Barbie house. And then the other activity that we've set up is basically what we've got is a little fan. And our fan is connected up to, we've got a 12-volt power supply. And what I explained to students is we also have this little controller, and this particular controller, it's the brand is Contemporary Controls. So this controller is the brains that is in control of how our Barbie house, how the comfort level of the Barbie house, and this 12-volt power supply is what would power the fan. But it's the controller that's going to be in control of if this voltage source, this power supply, is going to indeed motivate electrons to move around, right, to get that fan moving. And the way that we're going to help this controller to control that is through a program. And so that's part of also why, so I've got this kind of this little tray, and it has the laptop supported up high. So that way, I want to also communicate that in the world of a building automation systems tech, really at the end of the day, their best friend, their main tool in their toolbox is going to be a laptop or some sort of smart device where they're going to be remotely controlling commercial buildings. Like an example of a commercial building would be our Barbie Grand Hotel. So hotels would be an example of a commercial building. And so we have this idea of, so the laptop, right, is one of the first things that students will see, right? So that's why it's kind of raised up high. And then this particular program, I'll have students click on our basically one of the components in the program where now they can click in and they can decide at what temperature do we want our Barbie Grand Hotel to basically where we think, you know what, it's going to get uncomfortable. And but also we want to make sure that, you know, this Barbie Grand Hotel is energy efficient. So we want to kind of think of comfort and energy efficiency. What temperature do we think we would like to set this hotel up so that our participants or our Barbie and her friends would be comfortable? So, right, they'll click in. So literally, right, they can type in whatever temperature. All right, so let's say they type in 78 degrees. And so then I'll bring up that, wow, here we've got another thermistor. Remember, we learned about how thermistors are basically measuring temperature, and temperature is inversely proportional to resistance. And actually, that's what the controller is really looking at, is the resistance. It's measuring that. But we're going to go ahead and in that same idea that we learned with the Barbie ice bath, right? We're going to come over here and we're going to warm up the thermistor. And as we warm up the thermistor, we can see our temperature increase on the program. And right, so as the temperature increases, right, of course, I'm really cold. And so I'm in the EMCT lab. So it's a cold lab. I'm actually going to change this. I made this a little too energy efficient. Let me back it down. So I'll put it at 72. We'll actually make a change. All right, cool. Warm up my hands. That's the other thing to think about when you do this sort of outreach. Like I've brought the BS Tech Barbie House to lots of different conferences, workshops, and some of those places are really cold. And so these are some of the things you want to think about, right? Warm up your hands. You might have the students, right? If they enter like 82 or something, you might be like, wow. So let's maybe think of a cooler temperature, or, you know, work with whatever the environment is. So let's see if we can. So we've got it at 72. We're warming this guy up. All right. That's so funny. I'm so cold, I can't even like change the temperature. Just 1 second. I'm going to make this. Let's see. Let's see if we can get this to like 69. Perfect. All right. So our Barbies want it to be really cool in this Barbie house. So let's see. All right. So then the temperature is increasing. And no, you think I was dead. I'm not dead. It's just I can't seem to get this to warm up. Oh, all right. So let's do 68. Okay, come on. I can at least be 68 degrees. Oh, but that might have been too much. It just literally started. Let me get it to 69. All right. So these are some of the things that you're going to think about when you're with the kids. If you're in a cold environment, you know, make sure that they don't set it up to something. So right now we're at 68. I'm actually colder.
Deb, this makes me think you need to spend more time hanging out with folks from Wisconsin so we can give you some of those chemical hand warmer packs that all of us keep in our glove boxes in the winter in case of emergency.
Yeah. It's so funny. I've actually had this same situation happen in conferences where it's so cold. So it's just funny I'm experiencing this. But so here we are. So I have it 68 degrees and I can like barely turn on, but you can see, so the fan turns on, right, when we hit the temperature that's programmed. And let me try to move this up to at least 70. Come on, let's save a little bit of energy. All right, so it's really fun. It's a great kind of activity in that it's instantly rewarding, right? The students can come in, they can change the program. And then what also is kind of fun is, you know, some of the students are warmer than other students. So, you know, you'll have that where they'll be able to kind of move things around. And then I also wanted to show you that on literally any browser, uh, when you type in, so this would be the address of our controller. What's kind of cool is this particular temporary controls BASPI controller has a really nice display that also clearly shows. So right now our Barbie Grand Hotel is at 69.1 and the program's at 70. Can I get it to go to 70? Barely. Come on, come on. It's so funny. I'm barely making it. There we go. There it goes. So when it comes on, you'll see the binary output turns to 1. So what's kind of cool is that opens the door for you to start sharing with students about digital logic. And so they can learn about how, oh, okay, so, and the brains behind the operation, that's our controller. Think of it like controlling the gate. So it's opening, controlling the gate. And so, when the gate is closed, that's your logic 1. And then when the temperature now goes back down below whatever you set it at, then the gate opens thanks to the brains behind the mission, right? Our controller. And so then the Barbie Grand Hotel fan logic becomes 0. And so 0, right, is your gates open. So that kind of thing. It's just what's really nice is this activity opens the door to a myriad of conversations. If you want to talk about voltage, current, programming, digital logic, relationships between temperature resistance, digital multimeters. How would you use a multimeter? I'll talk to students about how we set this up if we're going to be measuring resistance, versus measuring voltage or current. So kind of show them why it's a multimeter rather than just a meter. And so just a lot of possibilities. And what also is exciting about something like this is you can involve your current students. And in that, you can say, okay, so here's one example, right? We've got a fan and a thermistor. We've got this little program. What else could we do to the Barbie house where this could be like create another activity, come up with a program, come up with the components, design it, install it. And of course, our installation in the Barbie house is, much probably quicker than installation in a real hotel. But the idea is still getting even your own students start thinking about, oh, okay, what can we do to communicate, basic controls, basic building automation control ideas that then the beauty is invite those students. So your own students who helped you create the programs, the design of the activity, to then be able to go with you to the outreach events. And so then, hello, right? Our students are way more cooler than us. So then you'll have, your own students here sharing and getting future BAS tech. That's why I see our, future BAS techs, the kids that walk up and, at these outreach events, them excited about what they're learning, and they can talk about, yeah, I'm at Valencia College and I'm learning this stuff. And so, we take it to the next level. But if this is exciting to you, definitely, here's a brochure about our program, or, we always have, so this area down here is where I typically have the brochures, flyers about our program. I'll have a little, giveaway pens, night lights, anything that's got our, Valencia EMCT logo. So it's a great way to also market your program. I've even told the 5th graders, 4th graders, take this information home to your parents, show them, tell them about what you learned today. And I don't know, who knows, when you do outreach, you're really just kind of, you're throwing seeds out there and you're hoping that things will sprout. But I also see that this outreach activity can be a blessing even to students within your own program, because if they can get involved and then they can come out with you and do outreach, that's a win-win. Because then they are, they're getting their base. Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, as we know as instructors, if you can teach something, then gosh, you really get it. So now we're having our own students come to outreach events and share what, programming, electronics, meters, the whole shebang with future BS techs, right? The kids that are coming to these outreach events. And so what a win-win, right? That helps your own students to, really solidify the information, and then they're engaged and they, right, gets them excited about what they're learning. So when they get back to the classroom, hopefully, right, they're just going to be even more motivated to finish that degree. And then of course, for the future, right, the future students that are coming into your program. So it's a win-win. But I could probably talk way more about this, but I think it might be interesting now to, well, a couple of things. Just the reality. So the reality of doing an outreach like this, you are definitely going to need some sort of cart on wheels, something, because transporting all this fun stuff, you'll definitely need, it's not always fun just carrying everything in bags. So have some cart on wheels. What's great about this little BS Tech Barbie hotel is it's portable. Like this whole thing kind of folds in, and it's actually maybe only the width of this, and then of course this height. So it actually gets much smaller. So you're going to want to look for some sort of thing that does that. That's nice. Always bring extension cords, because I've been to outreach events where, it seemed like I was miles from a plug or whatever. And the other thing is definitely when you sign up for outreach events, you're always going to want to ask, let them know I need power, right? So the things that are being powered, we've got, of course, the power supply for the fan. That's a 12-volt power supply. We need some power for our little controller, the brains, right, behind the whole thing. And of course, we need to power up the laptop. So definitely, extension cord. As far as for the Barbie ice bath, ice. So bring a little cooler with some ice, because I've also been to events where it was way out in the boonies and there was like no ice to be found. So bring your own ice and paper towels. And the reason why is because it just depends on how long your events are. I've done some middle school outreach events that were literally like, it was 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it was like a, and they basically, they brought in bus loads of middle school students like every hour. So that was pretty intense. It was like a junior achievement type of STEM event. It was great, but I was exhausted at the end, as you can imagine, and I went through a lot of ice. So even though it's really cold in our lab right now, my ice cubes are still melting, and what happens is there's a little condensation going on, and we don't want to flood out the bottom floor of our Barbie Grand Hotel. So, paper towels, bring paper towels, just kind of, things to just, you don't really think about, but in doing an event like this, these are, just stuff to be mindful of. Extra batteries, right? So in case your DMM goes out, right, you're good. And extra electric tape. I mean, I have electric tape, everything here, but maybe that's because I'm electrical engineering background. I don't know. Electric tape seems to be the thing that works for me. But, whatever you use to mount things, you might want to have extras. And, anything you think about, like scissors, bring it, just be ready. Be ready for anything, because you just never know where you're going to end up and how long you're going to be there. So it's all good. But I think this is probably a good time maybe to open it up. If you've got any questions, or if there's anything that maybe you're specifically curious about. As far as documentation goes, we've got some great information that'll be provided to you. It's along with the recording of this video. So I've got basically the step-by-step of how you would upload your and basically connect up your BAS controller. Remember, this is a contemporary controls, but if you use this little Pi controller, step by step of how you make that happen on a Windows PC. I also have a parts list, so all the fun little stuff. And also there's a screenshot, basically the close-up view of the actual program. So I know you probably can't see the program from here, but there's a nice close-up for you that will be available with the documentation. So with that, if you've got any questions.
Yeah, Deb, we are getting some questions across the chat, and I'd welcome people to continue to submit those, and I'll try and field them for you. One thought, Deb, you were saying, you challenge your students to think about other things that you could do to the hotel and additional stuff that you might automate. I'm curious if anybody has ever suggested trying to do like individual room lighting and occupancy sensors for when the doll goes from one room to the next to have the lights come on and off.
That's actually the next plan. And what's kind of groovy is this Barbie Grand Hotel, the elevator moves. So one of our faculty found an amazing little occupancy sensor. It looks like a disco, like half of a disco ball. It's really hip, but little, like Barbie size occupancy sensor. So the plan is we're going to mount the occupancy sensor down below. So this is an area of the Barbie Grand Hotel that we're not really using. So that'll be perfect. We'll put that there. We'll put some lights, and then we'll basically have our students take Barbie for a ride, right? And basically push our Barbie, the elevator down. And so when Barbie comes to the first floor, right, the lights will be on. And then when we bring her back upstairs, and we'll have them basically program, like mess with the timing of that. So that way they can kind of see, oh, it's been 5 seconds, or, oh, it's been, whatever, 30 seconds. I don't know, that kind of idea. So it's kind of, that's sort of our next activity that we're thinking about. So it's really cool, Ken, that you thought about that, because it's like, right, great minds think alike. Awesome.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Here's an easy question. How much did this apparatus that we see on the screen cost, roughly speaking?
Let's see. So the whole thing.
Yeah, everything we see behind you there today. What are we looking at?
Let's see. I've actually got the part. Well, Gabby, do you by any chance have that?
Let me look. So that is one of the lists that Deb has provided, and it will be available with the recording, but I can look it up real quick and I can give you a dollar amount. So hold on a second.
Oh, great. I'm glad we have that resource for everybody.
Yeah, Deb actually itemized it and it'll be available, but I'll look up the total amount.
Excellent.
Yeah. And just so you understand, like this particular, the Barbie Grand Hotel, this is actually hand-me-down. If you look closely, you'll see it's definitely, it's pink, but it's kind of faded pink, and there's more bright pink in certain spots. And, it's hand-me-down of 2 of my daughters. For my firstborn, I have 3 kids, but my eldest daughter, and then handed it down to my youngest daughter. And so Barbie Grand Hotel was actually in our garage, destined for Goodwill. And then when I was actually inspired, so this just shows the blessing of the NSF AT group. I was at one of the PI conferences, and it wasn't a Barbie house, but it was like, kind of looked like a house, but I mean, it was, I don't know, it was just amazing. And it kind of gave me the idea, no Barbies or anything, but just that, a small scale house, like how could we do this? And then that's when I was like, we have something in the garage. And so I think if you buy this new, it might be like maybe $150 or something. But if you've got, if you can find this at a hand-me-down place, or if your kids aren't using it anymore or something. So that's where I got this guy.
That's great. That's great. Way to repurpose and recycle used goods. That's fantastic. I think you addressed this question a little bit earlier, Deb, but you said that male students also engage with the Barbie House outreach activity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's very interesting because that was one of the first things I was just a little concerned about when we first brought this out, but not a problem, right? The male students of all ages are coming up here, because it's hands-on and there's wires and I don't know, it seems like they're blind to all of this because, maybe this is what's attracting them. I honestly, I don't know, but I've never had um, I've never had a guy, just walk by and not even look. You know what I'm saying? Like you would think, would this turn them off? No, they are fully engaged. And if anything, I think, they think it's pretty interesting. You know what I mean? That, oh, that it's in this kind of environment. I don't know if this is just showing us that, I don't know, future generations are just much more open-minded and just, willing to embrace diversity, who knows? But I have absolutely I've never had any male student, they never expressed that they were offended or anything. If anything, they're up here as well. But what's kind of cool, and this is just something that I've observed differently uh, before BAS Tech Barbie, is that when I would do activities and I would have stuff like this out without the BAS Tech Barbie, yeah, all the guys were here. So they had plenty of room, but now they're up here and they have to share with the girls because the girls want to play too. So that's really cool. That's something that definitely BS Tech Barbie has enhanced.
That's great. That kind of interaction between students, I think, is tremendous.
Hey, Ken, it's Gabby here.
Yeah.
I have those numbers for you.
Oh, please.
So Deb estimates it's slightly over $2,000, but that includes a laptop. So
Okay.
and the cost of the laptop could vary. And she's estimating about $1,500 for a laptop. So it's a little bit over $500 for the other costs without a laptop.
Yeah, yeah. Many schools all probably already have a laptop that they could purpose for
Yeah.
this. So that's great to know. Another question related to gender here, Deb. Have you had any male instructors take this out for outreach events, and what was their experience?
Yeah, actually, we haven't had any male instructors take this out yet. So that is to be determined. Well,
That sounds
yeah.
like a great NSF research project right there to try. So if there's any male instructors on the call that are willing to do that, that would be, I think, some excellent data for us to get. Let's see, going back to some questions. I was thinking about this, Deb, like in years past, historically, building maintenance is kind of like associated with a guy in overalls and a strong back, shoveling coal into a boiler in a steam room or something like this. And in contrast, like if you think about the modern image of building automation, you oftentimes see it billed as like a computer geek activity, right? Which appeals to people that play video games. And neither of those stereotypes seems to be really attractive to the bulk of our female students. So I'm wondering if you have, any suggestions for like how we work past those associations to try and attract more women into the field.
Great question. I think so. A couple of things. All of our marketing brochures, like Valencia has really done a great job of really trying to show, male and female students, like, working on, their coursework stuff, their, what a BS Tech student would be learning. And so, that helps. And then when we go out to do our outreach, I'll have, big trifolds and, posters and things up showcasing our students. So that's one way. Just because it just shows them, oh wow, it's kind of breaking that image, because I don't know, I think our students just look really hip, and so it's just neat when they, we showcase them and little kids are like, oh, wow, they look up to them. And then also what helps is we've got, I mean, this is engineering Barbie, and she comes with a laptop. I mean, it's like the door's wide open. Has a little robot. So, she's got some safety goggles, but she's hip. I mean, if you look at her clothes, you're going to want to wear these clothes. She is hip. And so, I've basically showcased, and we've got all these really cool looking, Barbie's way, and they're technical, but they're not in that stereotypical geeky kind of a stereotype. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
it's just embracing, all the different looks.
So we've got at least one eager pioneer. Ted Walensky has mentioned in the chat that he's interested in trying the Barbie House outreach program, and to give you a male instructor perspective. So you two will have to follow up offline. And you've kind of alluded to this a little bit already. There was a question about, the building automation systems Barbie House is just one part of your sort of efforts to do outreach to female students. And you've commented on this a little bit already, but how did you sort of package that together with other ideas for reaching out to the female students? And what's your overall enrollment look like in terms of female representation?
Yeah, so the overall enrollment, so we're looking at maybe like, it's not, we haven't quite hit like 10%. So, maybe we'll have 1 or 2 girls in each of our classes, that kind of thing. So it's not 50-50 by any means. But as far as activities, so, we also have like a VR headset set up where we'll take that out into the community, and basically when students put that on, it immediately puts them in our EMCT lab, and you might be able to see a little bit of it up here. So there's a lot of really groovy equipment in here, and it's very hands-on. And so when we take our VR setup out, off campus or whatever, we go to veteran career fairs, we go high schools, and guys and girls alike, they put on that headset, and we basically let them know that, this is now your classroom. It's hands-on, it's a very kinesthetic type of learning. They can fly around like in the VR, not in our actual lab, but in the VR headset, they can fly around the lab, and they can basically start up different videos that talks about the various equipment that's in the room. And then we talk about how, we delve into that, the different types of equipment. And, when they leave our program, they're going to, learn, basically have that comfort level with the electrical and mechanical systems. But then we also point out that, not only electrical systems, mechanical systems, computer programming, cybersecurity, network engineering technology, but we also let them know that it's very much, you're going to be working in teams. And even when you graduate and you're out in the field as a BS tech, you're always working with people. And that is definitely something that gets, what I've observed, our female participants' attention, because they realize that, wow, so this isn't a Lone Ranger type of job. They're going to be working with people, they'll be communicating. We'll often let them know that as a BS tech, you're going to be communicating with the building owner, you're going to be communicating with the controls vendors, and the occupants of the commercial buildings. I mean, you are not a Lone Ranger, you are working on a team, and that helps. So the idea that it's hands-on learning, you walk in the door and we will build your knowledge base from square one. And so it just kind of builds their comfort level. So I think some of these things also helps, of course, besides RBS Tech Barbie.
Yeah, I can appreciate where that team aspect is really important to a lot of prospective students, and helps to dispel that image of the lonely guy in the basement shoveling coal, right?
Yes. Uh,
So this might be kind of a dumb question. It might reflect my ignorance, but my oldest daughter is just starting to play with dolls, and some of the figures that she's gotten as gifts from relatives are I guess you'd say they're like more politically correct characters, where they have, like what people would agree are like more realistic body shapes and stuff like this. And I'm just kind of curious if you think it's worthwhile to think about those things, or is Barbie still such a dominant cultural figure that it's like the obvious choice for marketing and recruitment? And I'm asking because I'm a guy and I just really don't know.
yeah, great question. Well, actually, even Barbies are becoming, they're also, changing, just basically being more reflective of our society. So by all means, I'm, I mean, I don't know if you can see him. We've got Guy Barbies here too. He's actually running the hotel check-in.
Shoveling coal in the basement? No, no, he's the front
Not in
desk.
the basement. but but just so you can see, I'll bring Ken out. So just so you can see, Ken's got long hair. You know what I mean? He's kind of looking like almost like a surfer dude.
He looks
So
like he's from California.
oh yeah, and he's quite happy to be part of Barbie's smart Barbie Grand Hotel, but so a lot of diversity. So that's what's kind of cool. So even Barbie, is you know uh, not the stereotypical, maybe what we think of, but as far as like the nostalgia, I mentioned that earlier. I mean, that's also part of what this is that it just it's to attract. It attracts, even middle schoolers. Maybe they're not playing with Barbies anymore, but they remember when they were. So it's just I don't want y'all to think of this as like this is like some spider web and we're trying to like trap the girls, but for sure it entices them. And what it does is it helps to, even if we can just break open the door, just like just tiny little bit to step in and be like, wow, check out this thermistor. Wow, take a look at those numbers increasing. That's resistance. Oh yeah, those ohms. That's that crazy omega symbol. Like I couldn't tell you how many times pre VS Tech Barbie we do events, and yes, I had the boys, not a problem. They were here, they were doing everything, hands on, loving it, and the girls were just. I saw them. They out of the corner of their eye. It was like they were curious, but it wasn't cool, like in their mind for whatever reason. Like, and all the boys were there. It was almost like, that's the boy thing. Let me move on to another table. And it just broke my heart. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you're missing out on some cool stuff. But there was not even, I didn't even have a little crack in the door to just have them program something, like these activities, they don't take long. I mean, I pretty much, went through this in, what was it, 20 minutes? So the first part of our session, but it doesn't take long, but it's enough where, they get excited. It's just really cool to see, like when they're, warming up that thermistor, and then the fan comes on and they're like, oh, and then they come over and they're like, oh, let me change the value. So then they are like remembering how to make a change on the program. And it's so cool. Whereas in the past, it was just like I wasn't here. The girls would just come and go because, oh, what's all this technical stuff, and her BS Tech Barbie just it almost allows it to be cool or acceptable. And again, I'm really talking to, like, seems like the middle school students for sure. This is where it's just been so dramatic. It's like BS Tech Barbie has allowed it to be okay with their fellow comrades to come on up here. Like, it's okay because Barbie's here. You know what I mean? Whereas before it maybe wasn't cool and, oh, all the boys are doing it. I don't know. This is just my personal observation, but over and over and over. I mean, this is part of why, I'm trying to do something like this, is because it seemed like that really helped.
I think you maybe have your finger on the pulse there with the retro factor. Barbie's one of these iconic toys that just resonates across generations, right? And like girls of all ages can identify that they had that in their childhood. And I imagine when they look at your hotel there, they think, wow, I wish I had one that was this cool when I was a kid growing up that could do all these neat things, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I just saw in the chat Polly Pocket, definitely. So what a great idea. So for sure, just make sure that, when you have Polly Pocket, maybe have another one of these little trays to kind of put Polly Pocket's little house up higher. So that way you can, attract the attention. But that's a great idea. And yes, smaller footprint.
So Deb, I have another question for you because, when you're doing student outreach and recruitment, the sort of very closely affiliated activity is advising, right? And steering folks into careers. And I know you have taught both students who are pursuing 4-year engineering degrees as well as those pursuing 2-year technical degrees. So, put yourself in the position, you've got this inexperienced but talented young female STEM student who's uncertain about an educational path. But she clearly has the ability to succeed in either pursuit. What advice do you give that young lady about to help her make decisions about her future?
Yeah, well, one thing is to definitely let her know that there's like intro courses, like for example, our EMCT program has an introduction to energy management controls technology. So, she could take one of these courses as like an elective through dual enrollment. So I don't know if y'all, so in the state of Florida, we've got dual enrollment, which so high school students can take classes, basically college classes. And if it's an intro class, dual enrollment students are allowed. So that's kind of a one way to sort of expose them to, to see if there's something that they're interested in. So, to look for like intro classes to take.
So try it and see what you like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be bashful. Just jump right in and get your feet wet.
Yeah.
All right, one last question for you. Since we're getting close to the top of the hour, if you put on your futuristic hat, what are the big changes that you see coming in the building science and automation sector in the next 1 to 5 years, let's say?
Commercial buildings, and this is so cool because this is actually a future idea that I have. You can't see, but off the side, says the Terrace Cafe. That's this part of the Barbie Grand Hotel. And so I want to put an EV charging parking lot and like bring in one of Barbie's hot pink convertibles or whatever. You've seen those Barbie cars, and basically have so to communicate that is the future, that commercial buildings are going to be also responsible for charging the electric vehicles of the folks, the occupants of the commercial buildings. And so that it just means, even more importantly, that we need to have smart buildings that have renewable energy as a part of what's going on. And so more renewables, electric vehicle charging. These are some of the things that I feel is and then another thing that is definitely the future of smart commercial buildings is that, and this is something that I always want to make sure that I let students know, is that building automation systems tech, they're not fixing the HVAC, they're not fixing the electrical systems. What they're doing is, thanks to their smart device, they're identifying the problem, and then they're communicating to building owners to, fix it. Like, get the right people, the HVAC techs, the electricians, bring them in, the PV installers, whatever it is, to address the issue. But also the future of commercial buildings is going to be that the BS Tech will be also working with the actual smart building that would order its own. Does that make sense? Its own equipment. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, that's going to be the future where, yes, we're always going to need a BS Tech. We always will. Just like we were going to always need electricians and HVAC techs. But what's going to be wild is that now, like, smart buildings are going to be so smart that they're going to be like, oh, the BS Tech identified that we need to, make this more energy efficient here, or we need to replace this filter here so that we can, have more effective cooling or whatever. And then the parts will be ordered. So it's going to be literally like, I don't know, a really alive building, right? It's smart.
No more purchase requisitions for replacement bulbs. Just one day it shows up at the receiving area and is ready to be installed, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Deb, for this presentation. I'm hopeful that this will inspire a bunch more schools to, try this platform for outreach. And we have at least one volunteer from the call today that wants to get some male instructors working with it and gather some data. So I think that's a great idea for a future study. I'm going to share my screen again just to share a bit more information with folks from the Create Center here. Let's see. Oh, it's not letting me reshare my screen, and I'm not sure why. Let me try that once more. Let's try this. There we go. So let me just mention that this is, well, not sure what you guys are looking at right now. There we go. This is just part of a series of materials that the Create Center has developed for recruiting more women into the energy sector. So the recording of this webinar will be made available on the Create website, along with the additional materials that Deb has assembled with the parts list for the Barbie Hotel. We also have additional resources and marketing materials on the website, and we'll have future webinars coming up. So I do encourage you to visit the createenergy.org website and sign up for our listserv so that you can get notifications of those future events. Also wanted to make folks aware that we have some virtual workshops that we're producing along with the Kid Win program. For those of you who have experience working with Kid Win, they do amazing outreach, particularly targeting middle and high school students in STEM disciplines. And we are fortunate to have funding to sponsor teachers that are interested in any of these upcoming workshops on wind, solar, the power grid, or hydropower. Information on that is also available on the Create website, and we hope that some folks might be able to participate in those events. Once again, Deb, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you sharing this with our audience, and we'll wish everybody a good weekend and hope to see you on a future webinar event.
It was fun. Great to see everybody.
Thank you, Deb.
You're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat window too, Deb, just so you know.
Yay. Awesome.
Oh, Jennifer Clemens says building automation systems is a white collar job, not blue collar.
Oh.
I would say it's a green collar job. I think that's the
There you
word
go.
we've been using in Washington, D.C. lately.
There you go.
That's great.
It'll take me probably, I don't know, 5 days to, at a week at most, to get the recording and the materials up on the website. And then I'll send out an email to everybody, letting them know that they're up.
Well, Deb, I'll look forward to seeing when you get the occupancy sensors and the electric vehicle hooked up to that house. That's pretty cool.
That'd be fun. Very cool.
Hey, I'm also curious. You told the story about being inspired to put the hotel together.